Have you ever found yourself wondering if there's truly more than one path to financial security?
Yeah, or maybe if the usual advice we get about money might actually be holding us back a bit.
Exactly. It's a question that, once you really start thinking about it, can open up a whole new perspective.
Hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into a book that did just that for millions. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's hugely influential.
Oh, absolutely. A real game changer for a lot of people's thinking.
So our mission here isn't just a summary. We want to really unpack the core idea, these two totally contrasting ways of thinking about money, personified by two father figures in his life,
Right. We'll pull out the key insights, the main differences, so you can quickly get a handle on them.
and maybe challenge some of your own beliefs, gain a fresh look at how money actually works.
Sounds good.
So let's set the scene. Kiyosaki introduces us to these two key figures. First, there's Poor Dad.
That's his biological father. Highly educated, advanced degrees, very intelligent man.
But struggled financially, right? Despite all that education.
Yeah, that's the paradox he presents.
Yeah.
And then you've got Rich Dad,
His best friend's father, much less formal schooling.
but incredibly financially savvy and became very wealthy.
So the book uses these two viewpoints to draw this really fascinating, almost jarring comparison. It forces you to question, well, pretty much everything you thought you knew about building wealth.
Definitely. It's designed to make you think.
Okay, so let's unpack this right from the beginning. The book sets up this striking contrast immediately with their backgrounds, especially how they viewed education.
Yeah, Poor Dad first. He was, well, the classic academic type.
Deeply believed in the traditional school system.
Absolutely. Good grades, get those degrees, land a secure job. That was the formula for financial stability in his eyes.
His advice was always aimed at that safe path, like government work, teaching.
Right. Pensions, benefits, predictability. He truly thought a good education was the best shield against money problems. And he was respected for his academic achievements.
It's a path many of us are still pushed towards, isn't it? Get the qualifications, get the safe job.
It's the conventional wisdom, for sure.
What's really fascinating, though, is how those early beliefs about education just set the stage for their whole financial lives. It's like two totally different foundations.
Completely. And then you look at Rich Dad. His path? Sharply different.
He dropped out of formal education pretty early.
Yeah. Chose a different route. Learning through doing, basically. Hands-on business experience, finding mentors.
And learning from mistakes, too, I imagine. Trial and error.
Oh, definitely. He learned from failures as much as successes. But his core belief was that financial education, and he really emphasizes that distinction, was way more valuable than academic degrees.
So understanding money, investing, how assets work.
That was the real education for him. It really makes you question, what is education when we're talking about money? Is it the diploma on the wall, or is it practical knowledge that actually builds wealth?
That's a great question. And it connects to what kind of education you, the listener, feel you've been pushed towards, academic or financial.
Mm-hmm. Because that likely shapes how you see money itself.
And that's where it gets really interesting. Their basic mindsets about what money is were polar opposites.
Totally. Poor Dad. His view is pretty straightforward. Money is something you earn by working hard.
You work for money.
Exactly. You trade your time and effort for a paycheck.
Yeah.
So the focus is on job security, that steady income.
And saving was key for him, putting money in the bank.
Absolutely. That felt like the safest thing to do. And he avoided financial risks like the plague. It felt dangerous, speculative.
Money was kind of a limited thing to be carefully guarded.
Yeah, earned only through your direct labor. Very traditional view.
If we zoom out, this isn't just about how much money, but the whole philosophy behind it.
It's the entire framework, yes, which dictates every decision. Rich Dad, on the other hand,
He saw money as a tool.
precisely.
Hmm.
Not something you just work for, but something you make work for you.
How does that work in practice?
His whole approach was about creating and buying assets. Things like real estate, starting businesses, smart investments.
Things that generate income without him having to work for it directly.
Exactly. And yeah, he took risks, but they were calculated risks. He studied them, understood them. The goal wasn't just a secure job, it was financial freedom.
That's a fundamental shift in perspective. Job security versus actual freedom.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
And it really makes you pause and think, are you mostly working for your money day to day? Or are you actively finding ways to get your money working for you?
Building on that, how did these different mindsets play out in their careers, their daily work lives?
Well, Poor Dad's life was a clear picture of working for money.
Yeah.
His whole career.
Traditional employment, climbing a ladder.
Yep. always chasing the promotion, the bigger salary, the better benefits, the secure pension. But the book paints him as feeling, well, trapped.
In the rat race, as Kiyosaki calls it.
Exactly. That cycle of working to pay bills, then expenses go up, so you need to work more. Just trying to keep up.
A familiar feeling for many people, I think.
No doubt. It highlights the practical result of that mindset. Rich Dad, though, approached work completely differently, strategically.
His goal wasn't to get a good job.
No, it was to create jobs, to own the systems that make money.
Building businesses, making investments.
Right. So his money was working for him. He wasn't tied to an employer in the same way. Entrepreneurship, ownership, that was his focus.
Aiming for financial independence, not just a job title.
Precisely. So you see the contrast. One guy worked within the system for security, the other built his own systems for freedom.
It really makes you reflect on your own daily grind. Is it just for the paycheck? Or are you building towards something bigger like long-term independence?
It's a crucial question.
And that difference, working for versus having money work for you, leads us straight into maybe the most famous idea from the book.
Ah, yes. Assets versus liabilities.
This is where Kiyosaki really challenges how most people think. He argues Poor Dad didn't fully grasp the difference, at least not Rich Dad's definition.
Right. Poor Dad bought things he thought were assets, like a bigger house, new cars.
But Rich Dad called those liabilities. Why?
Because they took money out of his pocket. Mortgage payments, car loans, insurance, maintenance. They created expenses. They didn't generate income.
So they actually kept him stuck financially.
That's the argument. They drained his cash flow. And Poor Dad's famous advice, your house is your greatest asset. Rich Dad saw that as fundamentally misleading.
Wow. Okay, that hits home for a lot of people because owning a home is like the cornerstone of wealth for many.
It is. And this idea really challenges that deeply ingrained belief. Rich Dad's definition was super clear and simple.
Assets put money in your pocket.
Liabilities take money out of your pocket, period.
So a house you live in, paying the mortgage, taxes, upkeep, liability.
Generally, yes, by his definition, because it costs you money each month. But a rental property that brings in more rent than expenses.
That's an asset. It generates positive cash flow.
Exactly. So Rich Dad focused on collecting those kind of assets, rental properties, businesses, dividend stocks, and he avoided unnecessary debt and consumer spending.
His mantra was, acquire assets, minimize liabilities.
That's it. It's a lens to view all your financial decisions through. Are the things you own actually making you money or costing you money?
It prompts a sort of mental audit, doesn't it? Look at your own stuff. Asset or liability, according to Rich Dad.
It's a really valuable exercise.
It's such a powerful reframe because, like you said, it cuts against what many of us learned growing up.
Definitely. The idea that your home, your biggest purchase, might not be an asset in this financial sense. It's tough to swallow sometimes.
It's not saying home ownership is bad, though, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the cash flow. Rich Dad wasn't anti-home. He was anti-confusing a home with an income-producing asset. His advice would be, build your income-generating assets first, then buy the nice house.
Okay. So it shifts the priorities completely. Build the engine before you buy the fancy car.
Exactly. You nailed it. It's about separating the emotional value from the pure financial mechanics he's describing. Thinking like an investor.
Which is why he hammered home the need for financial education.
Not just knowing the words asset and liability, but understanding cash flow, debt, how investments really work, so you can tell the difference yourself.
Without that knowledge, it's easy to load up on liabilities thinking you're getting ahead.
Very easy. Happens all the time.
Okay, let's tie these philosophies together by looking at the specific financial advice each dad gave. This is where it really crystallizes.
Yeah, Poor Dad's advice probably sounds very familiar to many listeners.
Go to school, get good grades, get a safe job.
The classic. Also, save your money, avoid taking risks. Play it safe.
And of course, your house is your greatest asset.
That was central to his thinking. It's well-meaning advice, focused on security.
But it kind of puts a ceiling on your potential, doesn't it? Ties your success directly to your job.
It does tend to limit the upside. It's rooted in that work-for-money philosophy.
Now contrast that with Rich Dad's core messages.
A completely different tune, his big one. Don't work for money, make money work for you.
Then acquire assets, minimize liabilities. That core distinction again.
Absolutely. And the huge emphasis on continuous financial education, learning about markets, business, investing.
And crucially, he wasn't afraid of risk.
Well, calculated risk. He'd say, Take calculated risks. Wealth requires it. You can't grow significantly without stepping out of the comfort zone, but do it intelligently.
It's striking how clearly their advice flows from their basic beliefs. One is all about security and tradition.
The other is about growth, independence, and being strategic, even if it involves some uncertainty.
It makes you think, which set of advice sounds more like what you heard growing up? Or maybe more importantly, which one resonates more with where you want to go financially?
That's a really good question, because it forces you to weigh that comfort of the familiar against the potential, maybe, of a different approach.
You mentioned calculated risks. That seems like a key point, but maybe a tricky one. How do you know if a risk is calculated versus just reckless? Especially if you're just starting out.
That's a great point, and that's where the financial education piece comes back in so strongly. Rich Dad would argue a calculated risk isn't just gambling or hoping for the best.
It's about knowing what you're doing.
Exactly. It's about understanding the investment, the market, the business.
Yeah.
Doing your homework, knowing the potential downsides, and having a plan B or an exit strategy.
So knowledge reduces the actual risk, or at least makes it manageable.
Precisely. It transforms it from speculation into a calculated move. So for a beginner, maybe it's researching a rental market thoroughly before buying, not just throwing money at a hot stock tip. It's about being informed.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not about being fearless, it's about being informed.
That's a good way to put it.
So ultimately, the results speak for themselves.
Okay.
Like, what was the long-term outcome, the legacy of these two approaches?
Well, the book paints a clear picture. Poor Dad, despite the education, the hard work, the respected career.
He struggled financially.
Yeah. Never really got ahead, never achieved that financial independence, worked his whole life, faced money worries, and sadly, didn't leave much wealth behind.
It's a tough outcome, considering his background and effort.
It really underscores the book's main point about the power of financial philosophy over just credentials or hard work alone.
And Rich Dad.
Quite the opposite story. Achieved financial freedom relatively early. Built businesses, investments.
Things that lasted beyond him.
Exactly. They continued generating wealth, creating a legacy not just of money, but also of financial literacy, opportunities for others.
So the end game wasn't just about intelligence or effort.
No, it was about how that intelligence and effort were directed. It was about understanding the rules of the money game, as Rich Dad saw them.
It definitely pushes you to think about the kind of financial legacy you want to build. Is it just about getting by safely or building something more substantial, more independent?
A very personal question, but one the book forces you to confront.
So to quickly recap that core distinction, the sort of one-liner from the book, Poor Dad says,
Work for money, play it safe, focus on school, your house is your asset.
versus Rich Dad.
Make money work for you. Embrace calculated risk, focus on financial education. No assets from liabilities.
Yeah. Understanding these two philosophies isn't really about saying one is totally right and the other totally wrong.
No, it's about seeing them as different paths with very different destinations.
And it really highlights how vital financial literacy and critical thinking are for your own life. You need to be an active player, not just follow the standard script.
You need to question the assumptions.
Which brings us to a final thought. This deep dive really challenges us to look past that conventional wisdom, to question things we just accepted about money.
Like, what if that safe path isn't actually the most secure long term?
Or what if that thing you've always called your biggest asset is actually holding you back financially?
Yeah. So the question for you, listening, is, what does real financial freedom look like for you?
And reflecting on these two philosophies, which one or maybe elements of both might be a better guide to get you there, it's definitely something worth chewing on.